Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday to you, Leadership Nugget Tuesday. And we are here to share some more leadership nuggets. So I want to make sure I have everything all set up here so that we can have our great conversation. So happy Tuesday. Welcome to a morning cup of coffee leadership nuggets with Mary May, leadership strategist, or whatever time of day that you're deciding to join us. But before you make any decision in your day, make sure you have a cup of coffee or tea and let's chat to build our strategy. So I have my tea this morning. It's still a little piping hot. So I'm going to let that cool off for me for a little bit before enjoying my morning sip to kind of get me recentered and guided in this conversation. So possibly there'll be some engagement of some sort that I can pause and actually take a sip and enjoy my cup of tea this morning. So, as I always share, Tuesdays are transformation Tuesdays because in our leadership is always go time, it's always decision time, and it's like no hidden figures when it comes to how it is that we lead in our spaces. And if you, for some reason, have challenges of being hidden, feeling invisible, not seen or heard, or your ideas is in the meeting about the meeting, trying to belabor where you feel stuck and invisible, I want to say not on my watch. If I am the leadership strategist working with you, that will not be the case. So my why is that I work with corporate professionals working to kind of move from hiding behind the curtain and being able to level up in their career and stop from being overlooked and underpaid to promoted and well paid. So today's focus nugget for today is that we're going to talk about bullying and leadership, like those two words side by side, simultaneously, how they may impact in your leadership decision making, in your leadership choices, decisions, how you engage with individuals. What and how is bullying and your leadership paired in your day-to-day life? And possibly who is your first bully that also shaped you to be a leader, and how is that impacting you overall? So I thank you for joining this conversation live in your day, however it lands and sit. If you are here live, please share some love and comments when something resonates with you, or just saying hello. If you find that this message could benefit another leader in your space, feel free to share that with them as well, or invite them into the conversation so that they can get the nuggets and hopefully begin to see how they can level up in their career as well. And then if you're catching me on a replay, let me know that you stopped by, and I'll make sure to come by and show you some encouragement and love as well. So, bullying and leadership. Bullying and leadership. Some may say, how do these two things align and coexist? Bullying and leadership. Well, it does. And you think that, okay, well, bullying is like, okay, something we did in middle school, high school. My kids may experience it like in different places that they are in today's conversation. But am I really experiencing bullying in my workplace? Am I able to identify in my executive role as a manager, as a leader, whatever space, your footprint in that space, are you able to understand how you may be operating as a bully, or maybe the recipient of being bullied? So when you think about you being invisible, overlooked, underpaid, not considered for a promotion, do you have something that you can make a 2 millimeter shift that will actually change how it is that you are allowing bullying to impact your leadership? So looking at, just the full scope of who you are, your characteristics, and everything that, makes you be who you are. So when you're looking at leadership versus boss motives, it's important to ensure that you understand how you develop yourself and how you develop the characteristics of being a leader. So, a leader is usually encouraging, is usually empowering, is usually willing to kind of coach people side by side and give them the tools that they need to show up and have all of the tools and resources so that they can have the development and always on team let's go, always on team what's next, always in strength and unity, and allowing for it to be a we did this together as opposed to trying to take credit for something that was done. However, when you have the alternative side of that, like the alternative side of that is I'm in charge, I'm the boss, I need this, or we need to make sure that this certain thing like is occurring and happening. Your role and authority is that you're proving yourself day by day, situation by situation, where individuals are intimidated by you and you are generally like just demanding situations, but not really guiding, not really ensuring that people have the resources. And you want to take all of the credit for the different things that are occurring, but then going to dismiss all of the contributions to whom you got to this place to be. So when you're thinking about how you're evolving in your leadership and how you want to pull that curtain back, you want to pull that curtain back to reveal how you are authentically and ready to be in the space that you are leading in. And so in being in that space, you understand that your choice to lead, your choice to evolve requires eliminating some things that are not serving you. And so, in order to eliminate, you have to be aware of what is actually taking place and what exactly are your experiences that have residue from previous situations. So when you think about how you want to evolve, how you want your leadership to kind of play out, what role, what contract, what are you trying to secure? You also have to think about personally, internally, how are you taking in energy, comments, criticism, feedback from other individuals? And are those individuals people who you are drawn to for a certain reason? Are you magnetized to this energy that's not really serving you in the capacity that would be better and helping you to level up? So it's like, where have you kind of considered your role on that? Am I in leadership or am I a bully? So the boss mindset would be more so the bullying type mindset, bossing you around. They own your voice. They own how it is that you kind of move and have the ink pen like on your stress level where you're constantly like, okay, did I do that right? Looking for approval, looking for acceptance, looking for did I do this the correct way? And as a leader, you usually have the wherewithal to say, okay, this is what was expected of me. I've gotten clarity on the expectations, and I am working and standing in my space to know that these are the things that are going to level me up and serve me well. So, in order to do that, in that evolving, what is it that you need to eliminate? And so, a lot of the things when you look at bullying in the workplace, people look at bullying in the workplace as like some level of misconduct, but that level of misconduct comes with a level of taboo and comes with a level of, okay, well, if you are believing that you are experiencing some hardship or harassment or things that are occurring within your relationship here at work that you think is not of approvable or in acceptance, then you have to kind of understand where and how you could dance with having that conversation, say with your executives or with your HR management or anything like that. But when you look at bullying and you look at workplace misconduct, Some of the research and stats say 75% of employees have personally experienced or witnessed some form of workplace misconduct during their working lives. So, somewhere in your career, be it that you are the person who is experiencing it, or you have been the observer, or possibly even the facilitator, not knowing it, have experienced some level of misconduct. But it becomes a difficult conversation because there's so many taboo thoughts that you want to protect a person. You want to ensure that if you believe that they are the person that's going to help you in that next level of your career, that they see you in a great light and that they see your performance and your personality not infusing or not being a challenge in how you will be when you get that next promotion. And so the expectations is that the environment now becomes, I don't want to use the word toxic, but it becomes unsafe. It becomes very vulnerable for the employee who is experiencing said misconduct and not really being able to understand when it is safe, what is a safe situation, and when it's appropriate that they can kind of stand in their authority and say, these things are not maybe not validating, but not in purpose of ensuring that I'm going to the correct next level. So when you look at bullying is in the intentions to seek to harm or intimidate or coerce someone who you feel is like in a vulnerable standpoint. So when they're in that vulnerable standpoint, they have been working there tirelessly. They've been doing all these additional hours and taking on projects, taking on roles that they believe is their step up towards that imaginary glass ceiling, that they begin to become vulnerable because they're on glass eggshells trying to figure out what is the next thing that they can do that's going to help them to level up and get that career. And in most cases, that they're missing the mark. They're missing a mark because one, they haven't identified what is this residue that they're feeling in this exchange between them and the team, them and their executive manager, and realizing that they do have some work style, some ethics, some things that are not necessarily working to their benefit, but that they have accepted to be minimalized, or that they may have accepted that this is what I need to do to be in that people pleasing status, or in that role where I'm just going to do the status quo. Well, when you decide to do the status quo, you're deciding to do the least necessary to get conducted, or the least amount of information that is going to have and serve you well. But when you are thinking about your work style as a leader, you will begin to say, okay, these are this is the feedback that I've been receiving. Yes, it makes me feel uncomfortable, but what do I need to learn from each situation? Because every conversation is an interview. So with every conversation being an interview, you have to kind of be able to say, okay, what personal and honest inventory can I take from what is going on in my day-to-day situation? And when you do that, you will begin to uncover possibly a pattern of who are all the leaders, or who are all the supervisors or managers or executive managements, the one that you've worked well with, and the ones that you could have passed on being a part of their team. But there's something that you can take in every situation as far as how you are leading. So in the acceptance aspect of it, if you are feeling that you are being vulnerable, you're being picked on, you're receiving intimidating and coercive type emails at work, phone calls after hours, if this is your work experience and it's causing your performance to be jaded, where do you fall between showing that you are an effective leader and being responsive and reactive, or reactive more than responsive to the bullying antics that happen? Because the intimidation takes away your confidence and your ability to know that you are more than capable to do whatever the next role is, or even the current thing that you're being asked of. but you are allowing yourself to get distracted by whatever the boss mentality individual around you is enforcing and putting into place. And so when you are that people serving, want to make sure that you're doing it right, you're dotting your I's and you're crossing your T's, you are sometimes not, you are missing the mark in regards to how you are in your authority, but also how you are responding to bullying antics in the workplace. Because the email that you received, the phone calls that you received after hours, the feeling of intimidation and out of place in regards to what it is that you are doing, yes, it may be real. Yes, it is your experience, but how you react or put things in place to be responsive dictates how well you'll be in leadership. Because even though that person is out of pocket and inappropriate with their workplace misconduct, your feeding into it causes you to be driving your decisions with your emotions and driving your ability to level up with your how you feel about it, how you are losing sleep, how you are staying all these extra hours and the performance is just not adding up. So you have to begin to have that power move, that power pivot, and understanding that when it is time for you to make a pivot, or when it is time for you to acknowledge and have the commitment of moving forward, that your character shaping situations are not what's holding you back from being able to level up in your career. Because whatever it is that you desire to do, you just have to roll up the sleeves and do a little work, but it's going to actually get you there when you realize what your triggers are and how you are allowing emotions to be your leadership guide versus the skills that you have invested in, all of the experiences that you've had, and how you can be leaning more so without blocking your opportunities. So if you're blocking your own opportunities, you may be functioning from like a boss mindset and blocking every opportunity to secure the promotion and successfully get that project. But while doing so, who is being at harm in the long run, or sometimes even in the short run, while you're doing that? That boss mindset that's demanding the authority, that's taking all of the credit, that's causing you to feel as if you need to work these extra hours and put in this extra stuff. That's a intimidation factor. And no workplace should really have you feeling as the leader that's so qualified and unapologetically great as you are, should have you feeling in that way. And so you have to think about if it's from in jest where it's a joke or humor, something that's said about you that you actually are personally internalizing and overthinking and rethinking and considering, different places and how you're going to pivot yourself. If you have a unique ability that, makes you stand out in some particular way, then not using those as deficiency markers, but using those as strength and using those on how you're going to break the code to understanding that, again, emotions do not cash checks. However, emotions give us those post-it notes to say, something else is going on here, and I need to do some personal interrogation to kind of understand how I can move forward. And so when you're moving forward, you are clear that you are creating the strategy and the balance that's going to be key. But the thing about understanding who is guiding your leadership and where is all of it coming from, your transformation, and each time that you level up, you have to realize, is it your current version of you, the current individual that you represent and you put out well for how it is that you want to be seen, understood, not invisible, and heard? Or is it the first bully, the first person who shaped you into being the characteristics that you have, having that leadership ideas, being able to be confident and capable in doing whatever it is that you put your mind to with conviction? Or are you that 6 or 8 year old and trying to still make the performance match up to a parent or caregiver that may not have been consistent and may not have been as nurturing as you would like to believe them to have been. But then with the losses or things that you have experienced in that younger version of you, is that younger version of you, if we're given an age saying 6 to 8 years old, is that 8 year old making the decisions for you in your seasoned lifestyle right now? Is that 8 year old making the money decisions that you need to make? Is that 8 year old making those decisions based on who was the leader in their life at that particular time that gave them permission or did not give them permission to be able to speak with authority and own their own voice, and how they position their goals and how they position their leadership, with understanding that the expectations of your role have to be clear? And in order for them to be clear, you have to understand that what is it that you're hiding from? What is it when you go into the boardroom in the energetic, either from a certain individual, a certain set of questions, a certain set of how it is that you are standing in your authority? What is it about that makes you think of that younger version of you? And how is that younger version of you sabotaging your ability to get to that next level of your career? That is when you have to look at, is the bullying version of you, the younger version of yourself, having more of a voice, more of a control of your mindset, activating the change with limitations that you may have experienced in that other self. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the 8 year old. I'm just using that as an example. But in your other version of yourself, or are you willing to kind of make a shift and understand where you have positioned yourself and how you can get out of that position into a leadership capacity where you are activating the change and everything around you is shifting accordingly, where you can not only be the effective leader that you want, you can not only get that promotion with a successful project or contract, you can now own the space. You can now own how it is that you react and respond. You can be the leader that has the authority that says, around here we do, and whatever it is that you all do as the team, because you have changed the narrative around how you are seen, how you are heard, how you are respected, and you will unapologetically be able to get that promotion that you're looking for, because you're no longer sitting with that disappointment and that discouragement that has not served you so far. So when you think about the workplace misconduct, yes, around you, things can always be conflictual. However, how you react, how you respond, how you stand in your understanding of what it is that you bring to the table creates how you will be able to break that code and be able to successfully secure and manage anything that you're going through. So when you have that strategy, when you know those things that are like behind the scenes of what is triggering you in that conference room, in that supervision meeting, and whatever, then you begin to get that balance of understanding, okay, are you really stuck, or are you avoiding the process of really, really interrogating what your experience is? And if in fact it is an experience that takes you to an earlier version of yourself, not necessarily blaming who was your bully at 8, 16, 25. What were the situations that tend to take you off track? But you are creating what that survivor to CEO mindset is, so that you can get that status out of your practices, your mindset, your language, your activity, your procrastination that's only delaying your outcome, so that you can secure that promotion and be able to position yourself in the best way possible. And the only way to do that is to ensure that you take that personal, honest thought process, but knowing that you have the capacity to do much better. And so I want you to just, think about that, and think about some of the situations that you may call your friends. While you're talking to your friends, you're getting a phone call, you're thinking about the workplace misconduct that we've talked about here today. But being positive in those situations and understanding what's going on is not a flaw. And most of the times when you're speaking with other individuals who are, say, your colleagues, your friends, or whatever, if they don't have the full scope of what you are experiencing, then it's possible that they will identify what the problem statement is, or the thing that you would benefit working on, from a personalized approach of how it impacts them. But you would need to do your own personalized approach to understand that how you respond, how you react, how you understand you being stuck and avoiding various situations is really, really key to you moving into that next expectation, that next rotation, that next leveling up for how it is that you own and position yourself unapologetically. So I will close out with this quote today that I received from Ralph Marston. Being positive in a negative situation is not naive, it's actually leadership. So being positive in a negative situation is not naive, it's leadership. It's leadership because you are taking on being positive, but being positive is not being dismissive. It's two different things. Being positive and being dismissive would be you're falling into that vulnerable standpoint where you could be bullied around and just renegotiate it in regards to what you thought was important and becoming into someone else's alignment. But when you are in that leadership capacity, you know that, okay, I'm not being naive, I'm being observant, I'm being calculated, I'm learning how to activate what it is that I could do differently, and I'm not allowing my emotions to distract my dedication and my discipline to getting the job done. So when you think about how you are not making excuses, you're not protecting yourself, you're not delaying what it is that you're not dealing with, because you're not being dismissive. You're actually standing in the space and understanding how you can get snatched, how you can, deal with that residue and be able to make that mind shift strategy into execution with discipline so that you can level up accordingly. So I want to thank you. That's my nugget for today, Tuesday. I want to thank you for joining me for another Tuesday leadership nugget. I didn't get any of my tea in. Let me get some of my tea. And be able to provide you the resources that hopefully that you'll find important in this conversation. Where do you stand in the bullying and leadership? And who was your first bully? Most times, 9 times out of 10, it's a sibling or a family member. And how you operated in the system of your family and your role and positioning is definitely something that you are probably still managing in your adult life and in your leadership. And you will need to kind of make a 2 millimeter shift, 2 millimeter awareness in regards to how that is influencing your ability to get to the level of leadership that you're looking for now. So I look forward to having a breakthrough chat with you, strategy, looking at how it is that you can live unapologetically on your own terms. And I just want to thank you again for joining me for another Tuesday leadership nugget. And I want you to have a successful and productive day. Take care.